Hello, everybody. I'm really very excited to welcome Barbara Burke to our Mystic Mums community today. And Barbara and I have the same last name, which is very fun. We are not related. And Barbara is actually the creator and the author of the I Am Divine card decks for children. This is the one for children and for adults. This is a deck for one of the cards for adults. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to stay present for our children during this difficult time. So, Barbara, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get started.
Well, first of all, Carolyn, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I'm very honored. So my background is I taught elementary school for 29 years, actually. And after that, I became a facilitator for a program called the Hoffman Process, which is worldwide. And so I certainly can relate to moms with children. I certainly can relate to all the moms out there being homeschoolers right now as well.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge this is a really challenging time for all of us.
Hmm.
And that I believe as parents, the greatest teaching you can do is teaching from your own state of being in the world as well.
Thank you. And it feels like, for me personally, it's important to stay peaceful and calm myself when I don't feel like that necessarily on the inside. So this morning before we got together, I actually pulled a card from your deck, and I got this one, which is I am divine peace.
Mm.
And I thought, yeah, this is what I needed to hear. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with card decks, this is a really wonderful way to help bring a spiritual or um, a holistic perspective into your life. And this, it doesn't have to be through a card deck. It could be other ways that you try to tap into being at peace yourself and being calm yourself. So, what would you say in terms of helping moms to find that place? Because we're
Mm.
often wanting to balance ourselves.
That's a really, really great question. And I think that in order to create an environment of peace, it's really about taking some time for yourself to create that inner peace. And I know again that's challenging with moms out there, but even, 5 minutes before the kids get up in the morning to close your eyes. I often put my hands over my heart just to really connect within
Mhm.
to ask my own wise self, what message do I need to hear today?
Mhm.
To set an intention for myself, to maybe close your eyes and meditate for 5 minutes. I think you talked, Carolyn, about creating intention. I think that's really important too. What is my intention today? My intention might be to find a place of joy today, or my intention might be to be peaceful today. But I think unless we nurture ourselves first, we can't nurture other people in our lives as well. And I think I shared with you earlier, I know, Carolyn, that in teaching elementary school, it was so clear to me that how I came into that classroom got reflected in the children. So if I came in worried or harried or scattered, then the energy in the classroom got reflected back that way. So when I took the time to actually go within, time for silence for myself, time to meditate, and then that got reflected in the classroom too.
Even as you're speaking about it, I'm starting to feel calm
Mhm.
because it's such a good reminder that what we do is how we are, is how our children then learn to be themselves, right? So that if
I do
we're
believe
activated, they're going to be activated.
they are as well. And I think it can be very simple too. Like in the morning, I often start with gratitude. I'll just close my eyes and think, what am I grateful for? Even in this state of this pandemic, what am I great? I'm so grateful for my family and friends, the ability to check in through FaceTime. I'm grateful for the sun that came in this morning. So starting from a place of gratitude will also change your energy. And I think again with our kids, do we have a gratitude practice together? Maybe at breakfast, let's just take a moment. What are we each grateful for this morning? That can be a very simple spiritual practice that you can share with your children.
I love
Uh,
that.
yeah.
And so, and I like what you're saying about simple, because I think often as moms, excuse me, often as moms, we think, okay, I have to create this, calm environment. And I need to, how do I bring spirit, or how do I bring a spiritual practice? Or I enjoy my yoga, but how do I share that with my kids? And we put some pressure on ourselves and can maybe overdo it. I think that's our generation of,
Yeah,
let's,
exactly.
it's not necessary. You're saying it can be
No.
simple.
Very simple. And as I shared with Carolyn earlier, right now my children's cards are free as an app in iTunes. And so simply choosing a card, kids love that. They can shuffle the deck, choose a card, and you can talk about you got peace today. And you
Yes.
can read the reading together and talk about, oh, how can we create this? So to me, it's a great tool, an easy, accessible tool to talk about these concepts in a way that's understandable to your children. And I think, wow, what a great opportunity to start creating a spiritual practice with your kids that they can carry into their adult life.
Absolutely. And so this little booklet would be what they'd also find on the free app, is the description.
There would be a reading there. They can flip the card with a reading of it. Also, I put an audio version so they can listen to it on their own. And again, I think it's a great place to, again, as a family, to share your thoughts around that
Yes.
as well. And again, kids love doing. Of course, they love their computers, so they love using
Yeah.
an app and doing that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So that makes it accessible. Also, the other day I pulled "I'm Divine Joy," and I'm thinking you could again create a joy jar, within your family. What things bring us joy today? What can we do
Yes.
today to bring more joy into our lives? Let's have a dance party while we do the dishes.
Yes.
So creating again those simple spiritual practices.
I love that. And even just when I open the book, when you're at peace in your life, love flows more easily from your heart, which helps you connect to other people. You think better, your body even heals more quickly. So, guess what? This is a really helpful reminder for me as much as it would be for my kids.
Yeah.
And it's a teaching tool as well.
Well, it is, and as I was saying earlier too, that when I taught a grade 8 class many years ago, and the boys were challenging. I can tell you that. I decided to teach them how to meditate, and I thought, well, we'll see how this goes. Well, they loved it, and I can remember one of my toughest boys coming to me and saying, "Hey, guess what, Miss? Mom and I are now meditating together." And I thought, how cool is that?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we think that kids won't get it. They do get it.
Yeah.
They really do get it.
And in
Yeah.
some ways, are they more in touch with that themselves? Like, excuse me, as busy adults, I find I can get pulled away, whereas kids are here at their hearts the majority of the time.
Beautifully said. I think kids teach us what presence about because
Yeah.
they're so in tune with their feelings. And they go from anger to joy to sadness to they are so in the moment that they are great teachers for us as well. And speaking of that too, I think it's really important, especially this time, to give space for children's feelings as well. So whether you put up a feelings list and have everyone take a moment to share, what are you feeling this morning, and give space for feelings that some people may term as negative, but sadness, because there is sadness with change. There is sadness. We get to go to school with their kids, fellow kids, and so that's all really important too, to acknowledge those feelings and give space for that.
And that's really part of also creating a sense of peace and calm, or a spiritual home, if that's what you're looking for, because your feelings are guideposts.
They beautifully said. Again, I think of it as your interior GPS. They really do help orient us in the world. And I think often, there's messaging around not to feel certain ways, and to give it space is just so we can move through that too.
Yeah.
I also love with children having them draw their feelings. So again, if you were to draw what you're feeling, what would that look like? And what might that drawing want to tell you? I mean, there's so many creative ways to go within.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a mom too, I think when you're feeling, in that moment of frustration or agitation, again, simply for me, putting my hand to my heart, breathing into my heart, just taking that breath in that moment will help bring me down into that space. And to be, I think we talked again about being self compassionate. We're all
Hmm.
doing the best we can. So, yeah, when you make a mistake or you get agitated, that's okay. That's all
Yes.
right. Just come back to your heart again and coming back to your intention as well.
And we're all doing the best we can in a difficult time. So there are going to be, if you're at home all day with your children, there are going to be ups and downs throughout the whole day.
Right. And to recognize you're not going to be the perfect mom. No one's
No.
perfect, right?
Mm-mm.
So it's okay that you're not perfect. And that's okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Just giving yourself permission.
And I think that permission is sometimes we forget. I forget, first of all, to say, okay, it's okay, Carolyn. Everything's chaotic right now. You're making all these adjustments to your life, and your kids are witnessing you. And it might not feel calm, but then
Mhm.
it will get to be calm.
It
Like
will.
it will move through these waves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, the greatest gift you can give to your children is obviously your love and your presence. So whether it's really intentionally taking that 5 minutes out of your busy day just to sit with your child and be with your child and being curious with your child as to what are they feeling, what are they thinking, what questions do they have,
Hmm.
to give them that undivided presence. Oh, that's the greatest gift you can give them.
Oh, such a good reminder. I found as my children are a little bit older now, they are wanting to watch shows together. And then that's one of the ways they like to connect. And with all of this going on with the pandemic, I was like, nope, we're just going to all snuggle and talk
Mm,
and just talk
yeah, beautiful.
so that we can hear where we are and how everybody's feeling and
Wow.
what's actually going on. Right.
Yeah. Well, what a wonderful container that you built there. That is really, because I think, as you said, connection is so important right now. Connection to yourself, number one, connection to your kids. And I
Hmm.
love what you're doing, Carolyn, because I think it's connection to other moms too.
Hmm.
So you're not alone in this, and sharing your support and your wisdom with each other is also huge.
It feels like mums are so hard on on themselves. So it's always been a passion of mine to want to reach out to say, hey, we're all doing the best we can. How
Mhm,
can we support each other?
mhm,
So
mhm.
even in this time, how can you still receive support from others? So I guess obviously technology is going to help us to stay connected with each other.
Right.
Um, but I even just find that I'm trying to reach out a little bit more to people to say, how are you now?
Exactly. And it may be too, I mean, you can share your joys or your wins through a text to a friend too. And
Yes.
I was going to mention, one of the another great tool I think is important is self-appreciation. Is so within that scope of gratitude, what can you appreciate in yourself today as a mom? Wow.
Mhm.
I got up today and I made a great breakfast, or I took time to really be with my kids, but to really appreciate yourself, because I think that counters all that self-criticism, which is a common pattern for many of us. But
Yes.
but to really take a moment to appreciate that positive moment from your day, or what you're doing well. Right.
Okay. I love that. Again, I need these reminders. Like,
We
thank you.
so do I too. So
Okay.
we we all do. The other simple tool, and I know it can be more challenging today, is if you're able to spend some time in nature with your kids too. So whether
Yes.
it's going to the park, as a family with your social distancing, but to be around the trees, to be around nature, because being inside, really disconnects us from nature. That's also really important too. I find that very renewing.
Very renewing and also another way to connect to spirit, but also connect to yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I find that nature teaches me so much.
yeah.
Whether it's the trees losing their believes in the beauty of loss, that there's beauty even in loss and
Yeah,
that sort of thing. So there's so many lessons there. But and I think it is grounding to be out in nature
it
as well.
is. Yeah.
So that's another tool for sure. Yeah.
What would you say in terms of like the holistic mind, body, spirit, and how we can kind of balance that as moms? Is there any thoughts on
That's a
when?
great question. Well, I think
Hmm.
that I'm finding myself each is creating some kind of a structure during the day that can support each aspect of myself.
Okay.
So when I look at my body, I'm used to going to a yoga class. Well, I can't do that anymore. So how can I create some time for myself to do some yoga or perhaps use an online program so that I can still do my stretching and my flexibility and strengthening and so on. And I often, we use in the work that I do, we have what we call a quadrinity check, which actually on Instagram, if you follow Hoffman Process, they do a live quadrinity check every day. So what we do in that is to ask your body, what do you need today? And to really listen and connect to your body. And often I hear, stretch or, excuse me, drink more water. So really listening to your body. And then I'll go to my intellect. My intellect, of course, is, my thoughts and opinions. And I'll ask my intellect, what do you need me to focus on today? And often I just take the first thing that comes to mind. It might be, getting ready for my interview with Caroline or whatever it is. And then going to my emotions and really asking, what am I feeling in this moment? Really recognizing my emotions and asking my emotional self, what do you need? And often it might be self compassion or space or just room to feel. And then I go to my what I call my spiritual self. You can call it your wise self. And again, putting my hands over her heart and asking that my higher self, my best version of Barbara, what message does she have for me today? And just imagine my best self standing before me and really listening to her words. So that way I can feed each aspect so that inner team can really work together. Because I think often in my life, I forget my body. My body is actually the last thing I think about, and yet my body is
Hmm.
so important. So to really check in with each aspect.
Wow, I love that. And so, as moms, we can do that, but we can also teach our kids that as well.
Absolutely. It might be having your kids close. Let's all just connect to our body. What are you feeling in your body right now? Let's do a body scan together.
Yeah,
And then your body could talk. What would your body ask for today?
yeah.
What does it need in this moment? It's very easy to do with your kids. Absolutely.
And I can envision, like you were saying, about putting the feelings somewhere that everybody could see them, a list of feelings where you could circle them
Yeah.
or draw them, but you could do the same with this. How do you call it? A quadra?
We call it quad check. We call it, again, in the world, we often think of mind, body, spirit. Well, we think of four aspects.
Okay.
So your intellect, your emotional self, your body, and what we call your spiritual self or your higher self, whatever word you want to give it. So your quadrinity, both
Your
four.
quadrinity, I love that. So
Yeah,
then you could list that somewhere and do that with each other every morning, right? And that could be part of this COVID-19
ab-
spiritual tune-up.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the gift here. Yeah, and in terms of, I'm sure there, if you Google, feelings sheets for kids, I'm sure
Yes.
you could print one off, put it on your fridge, and again, really make that part of your daily practice together with your kids. Okay, again, what are you feeling? Can you find a word here? And again, it builds their emotional vocabulary too,
Yeah.
which is so important. Yeah,
And it's just such a good reminder for me that we don't want to be narrow in our approach, right? This to me, this conversation shows me the depth of all these different aspects: nature, feelings, body, intellect, gratitude. Like there's so many ways that we can connect to our own self.
absolutely. And again, I'd say it starts with the moms and dads out there. If they can do that themselves and they believe it, then they can, share that with their children. And wow, I mean, that has always been my dream that in schools, that we would teach this to our children. Well, we're
Yeah.
not in school now, but at home you certainly can. And that gives them lifelong resiliency skills.
And to me, that seems, I mean, I would just say my opinion, more important than math and French and science and English.
Oh, I would agree because that's what's getting me through this time. That's for sure. The power of surrendering to what is. Just I know I can't change it, but how I respond to it, that I do have choice.
Yes.
And I think that again is the gift is how do we choose to bring ourselves to this very challenging time?
Yeah. And then not put pressure on ourselves, because I think what I've seen with moms is like, how am I going to get the kids up to speed in school? And, there's so much uncertainty. We don't even know when the children are going back to school at this stage. And I know this
Yeah,
is going to be an evergreen interview that goes on my blog. But at this moment in time, on
yeah,
March the 24th,
yeah.
there's the uncertainty is quite great. So, how do we manage the pressure to say I have to do this, 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 and this?
And I think that's such a great aspect to think about because to me, the only thing that you have to do is be the presence of love. That first and foremost is the most important thing. The math skills, the geography, whatever, that falls by the wayside. If you are the presence of love in your family, that's the greatest teacher you can be.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. I just want us all to bring our hands to our hearts just to feel that, because that slows me right down.
Mhm.
That allows me to know what's important. So I'm tearing up because I just feel that that is like you hit me with a lightning bolt of energy to say, okay, Carolyn,
Mhm.
don't worry about the homeschooling. Don't worry about this. Don't just be love.
Be love. And an important question I often ask myself is, what would love do in this
Mhm.
moment? So when I'm really going crazy with the kids or whatever, it's just to ask and take a breath. And what would love do? And maybe love would just take a breath.
Mhm.
And again, just give space for my kids' feelings. Um,
Yes.
yeah, because you're right. You can't to put that pressure that you have to meet every expectation. Make a living, be the teacher. Like that's really unkind to yourself.
Yes, exactly.
So what can I do and to allow yourself that you won't be perfect,
Yes.
but if you're that being of love, you're doing your job.
And this idea of intention that you started the interview with is that, we are setting our intention for the day. And if the intention is to be loved today,
Yeah.
it's actually quite simple.
That really is simple, absolutely. And
Mm.
sometimes I need to go back to my intention, say, okay, yeah, and what choices am I making to align myself with that intention? So if it's to be peace, does this choice offer peace? So really to align yourself with your intention. Yeah.
And I would say that that's a good reminder. So, me trying to do a bunch of things for work right now in response to the pandemic, um, is it aligned with peace? That
Mm,
I'm going to pause and think, oh, it isn't, because I'm moving too quickly.
exactly.
I
And
am not actually slowing down and feeling what needs to happen. I'm reacting.
great. Yeah, great point. Because I think often, Carolyn, too, that when I actually pause and I slow down, I get a lot more done than when I'm frenzied out there. So giving myself like just pause to breathe, to put my hands over my heart for 5 minutes, just to take that and then go back to what I'm doing, I'm far more effective.
This is amazing because it's all about being, not doing. So when we be more instead of do more, we actually get more done.
Brilliant. Yeah, because I think the world wants to tell us that we're defined by what we do. No, it's actually starting with that place of being. And from that being, then we do what we have to do in the world. And we can
Yes.
do it far more effectively when we're in our hearts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all feel that, but I'm just going to take a deep breath because I feel supported and reminded of what's important. And I think
Mm,
that is probably one of the most powerful things
mm,
to bring to this situation that we're all in. But also, if you're just looking at how to bring it into your parenting, it to me feels I feel filled up with that reminder of love
mm,
and presence.
mm.
Thank
And
you.
Carla, I just want to take a moment to thank you for what you're doing in the world. I think you're being an incredible service right now, especially at this time to give moms all these resources and support and connection that's so needed. So thank you of being of such service in the world.
Oh, thank you. And if people are wanting to know more about your services besides just your card decks, where can they find you?
They can find me at my website, which is www.iamdivine.com.
Okay.
And if they're interested in downloading the free apps for both my adult cards and my children's cards, there's a link on my website. But if they go to iTunes and they just put in I'm Divine Cards, they'll see the adult deck and the children's deck, and both are free.
That is a beautiful service that you're offering. And I asked Barbara ahead of the call today if she's doing that in response to what's been going on. And she said, no, I've been doing that for a year. And I was like, wow, what a
Well,
great example.
well, the moment I decided to do it was I thought I have such abundance in my life. Like I really do. I have everything that I need. So how can I be of service? And I thought, well, that's an easy way to be of service to give people this tool. So I'm really delighted that I can do that.
I'm delighted to be able to share that with others so that they're aware of it and so that they know what's available. And I'm going to pull one last card just to
Great.
close us out and
I'm
see.
curious.
I am too.
Always curious as to what because you'll always get the right card too.
I am divine joy.
And you know what I have in my kitchen right now? The same
This.
card that I pulled this morning as I'm Divine Joy. Pull
So
this one. So, wow. What
you
an I
can't
mean,
make it up. You can't make this stuff up.
no, you really can't. So I'm going to be a joy detective today and look for joy in every moment.
Oh, thank you. And so will I. And I really feel like that goes with what we've talked about this whole day. So the peace and the joy and
Absolutely.
how do we balance that for our kids. So thank you so much for being
Thank
you
you.
and for joining us today.
Thank you. Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste to you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.